Hello! We are back with some Letters in Bloom art journals based on the Flower Letters subscription service. And right now I have the Adelaide Magnolia journal that I've just started. I did the cover last time using a lot of fun little elements and ephemera to kind of get us started. And now I'm looking at doing some background pages. The first thing I like to do is to give a little aged or vintage effect to the pages, which is really easy to do with your ink pad, especially if you have some of the Tim Holtz Distress inks, and just kind of color the edges very faint. Doesn't have to be a big deal, but it does give it just a little bit of dimension. And I like to do this before and sometimes after I have finished a page. Most of what I'm doing today is going to be just getting some backgrounds prepped. I like to do several pages at a time. That way, I kind of overcome the fear of the blank page. If I can get just something on here, a little bit of ink, a little bit of paint, a little bit of color, then it's not so hard to come back to it later and flesh it out a little bit more. Sometimes just that first act of doing something can really take out the fear and the stress and wondering, oh, what should I do with this? I don't even have a starting place. Whereas if I've roughed up the page a little bit and given it a base, even if I ultimately don't use that, I may completely cover it up. It just helps my creativity get going because I can look at the page and think, okay, maybe I want to go with a blue theme here. Or, oh, I just remembered that I have a particular cutout or embellishment that I would like to feature, and it would kind of blend with what I've started here. So it's a really good jumping off place. Now when I'm aging the edges to make them a little more vintage, a little more used looking, you can use the little sponge dauber that I had just a minute ago, or you can just use the stamp pad itself and kind of graze it along the edges. It's a little bit messier, not quite so I guess shadowed effect, but I kind of like it. It's a little more freeform. You can always come and go over it a little bit more with something else or with some more paint or stamps. Just rough it up a little bit. You could also use, if you don't have the sponge dauber and you don't want to use the stamp pad itself, you could try using a little Q-tip or a cotton ball to dip into the stamp ink and go around the edge of your pages. Now for the Adelaide Magnolia journal, one of my goals is to use the downloadable print sheets that the Flower Letters company offers on their website. I've already purchased the entire pack and printed it out on my printer. And the colors for this particular series for Adelaide Magnolia are kind of a Dresden blue, a pale ballet pink. I'm going to throw in probably a little bit of lavender with it as well. So very soft kind of pastel palette in a Regency era theme. So that's what I've chosen to do with my inks here. Now as I'm prepping my page, you'll see that I use a little piece of wax sheet off of a roll. You could use just extra printer paper, cardboard, whatever you've got. But what I'm doing is I'm separating the page I'm going to work on from the rest of the journal and creating a little bit of a protective area around it. So if I get any paint, water, anything else, off of this page, it's not going to soak into the pages underneath it or my work area. So it's just a helpful little tip to keep things clean and tidy. And you can use those sheets over and over again throughout your whole process working in the book. For a really super quick background, watercolor is my go-to. Now this is not actually mixed media paper per se, it's certainly not watercolor paper, so it's a bit thin, but I'm going to go ahead and add some paint. It will give a little thickness to it. It's almost just a watercolor wash. Again, just trying to take away some of the fear or anxiety of the blank page. Since I've already done a little something to it, it's not a big deal to start adding things when I come back. And I have some fairly standard watercolor colors that I've chosen here that go with those downloadable pages. The softer yellows, blues, and pinks. Almost kind of a turquoise color. And a gray. And I can just do a really quick, simple wash on there. It's going to wrinkle the pages a bit, but it is adding a little bit of stability to a fairly thin page. And while it's still wet, I can drop in just a hint of color that complements my base color. So here I've got the yellow, and then I'm coming in with a little bit of blue and just doing a faint kind of a shadow bit in areas around the page. And just as a side note, you can fill in some of the white space if that's bothering you to have some blank spots on your paper. But normally I try to work kind of in a triangle and put maybe 3 spots of color on a page in a somewhat triangular fashion, just to help give it some balance. And to speed up the process, I'm going to use my heat gun to dry the pages a little bit faster. Of course, it's important to keep the heat gun moving around. You don't want to just sit it on one spot. Would probably set your paper on fire, which would be a whole nother look, but not one we're going for today. And as it dries, I can literally feel the paper getting more crisp and able to hold a little bit more elements if I want to go over it with acrylic paint or stamping or even glue some other papers on top. It's going to hold up much better now. And then I can move my little splatter papers so that the next pages are going to be protected. And on this page spread, instead of watercolor, I'm doing gesso. Gesso is a white paint, and it's similar to acrylic, but it's got a lot more body to it, better coverage, it's not as watery, and it's just kind of a wonderful base coat to put on anything at all. It's definitely going to add some of that weight to the paper and make it so that I can layer more elements on it. And it's also really good if you have kind of a porous surface. So you could gesso, for instance, when you're doing painting on a canvas, you definitely want to gesso the surface because it's going to make it a lot smoother. The canvas will absorb the gesso and create a barrier between the canvas and the paint, so that when you're painting, your paint is going where you want it to go and not just being sucked up by the canvas. The same is true with the paper. except that in the case of paper, the gesso is adding a nice tough layer to it. So you're building up the strength of this paper. And again, when I go back to plan these pages out, I can think about what I've done to the base to then build up accordingly. So certain elements that might be a little heavier, I might want to add to this page because of the gesso layer. The watercolor layer might just feel like a little bit of a different kind of page layout with what I'm using for materials. And I love this kind of marathon method because it lets me use all these little things that I've had. Paint from kits that I've gotten in the mail, samples. And I always like to use a little bit of splatter technique, especially when there's kind of a boring background or I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it, like in the case of this page. I'm just not sure what's going to go here, but I want to go ahead and incorporate some of the themes. I've decided on a color palette, and that's what I'm going to stick with. So even though I went with a white gesso base layer, I spritzed it with some of the Distress Ink spray in that really pretty Dresden blue color. That's just going to inspire me later to add some more elements in that color or complementary. And now that I've dried it with the heat gun, I can get a better feel for the page, the thickness, how it's going to hold up with the weight. I'm still kind of in the planning stage of what to do with the title page. If you are a subscriber to the Flower Letters, you might have noticed that you have this beautiful sticker that you get on your packages, and I've been saving those possibly as something to incorporate onto the title page. But here are some of the papers in the Adelaide Magnolia collection, and they're just gorgeous. As I look at them, it seems like I've stepped into one of the beautiful English estates from the 1700s, and these are some of the wallpapers and upholstery fabrics that I might see. I really love the music paper, and I thought that would make a nice neutral background for the title page for any large lettering that I want to put here. So that's what I'm going to use. I'm loosely measuring it. I just kind of gently crease the paper where I want it to be, and then I'm going to cut it to fit the size of my journal. Definitely saving all the little scraps because they can be used on another page. And now that I've got my paper cut to size, I can check it again here. That's going to be a good fit. Of course, my journal pages are rounded, so I'll be rounding off the edges of this paper as well. I've got a little corner rounder punch here, just to do that real quickly. And even though I know that I already distressed the edges of the journal page, I'm covering it up now. That's okay. It's not a big deal. I can age these pages as well. Even if I think I've covered it up, when you turn the pages, there will be a little bit of ink on the very hairline edge of it, so it just every little bit adds to it. Even if you don't think you see it right away, your eye picks up all of those little finishes. I have a lot of different glues that I use from time to time. Anything I need to survive the heat or a really heavy application. Like when I was doing the cover of the journal, I used Grandma's stick flat glue, which I think I got at Hobby Lobby. And it's typically in the miniatures section, the dollhouse section, because it's great for sticking on wallpaper in dollhouses, so paper to wood. And it withstands the heat very well. If you're in a climate where, it might be a little bit warm and you put things in storage like I have, you want things to be sticking for quite a long time. But for these interior pages, I don't need anything that tough. So just a regular kind of scrapbooking glue or a craft glue is going to work fine. I prefer it to be a little bit thinner. You can even brush it on so that it doesn't buckle the pages quite so much. But I'm just adding this full page onto the base page of the journal. So now we have a third background technique. We've done a watercolor page, a gesso page. Now we've got a paper on paper page, all prepped and ready for us. And when I do these little marathons, I just go for as long as I want to go. I can make 3, 4, 5 page spreads at a time. And that just helps me get a little jump on things, and then I can do several page spreads at a time if I want to. Go back in and distress the edges of this first page that I glued on. And this distress ink, it will react with water slightly, so I can go in with a damp brush along some of the edges and smooth it out a little bit. Just be sure that your pages are dry before you start turning them over and starting new pages, because once you get some pages stuck together, that is a problem. You can't always undo that. So this time I'm adding gesso straight onto the page. Instead of going in with my brush, I have it in kind of a little squirt bottle, so I can just glob it on there. And then I'm going in with some of my watercolor paint and mixing it straight into the gesso. This is really going to let me have a very cloudy, dreamy effect without having to soak the page with the watercolor. I'm going to get the benefits of having gesso as a base coat on a thin piece of paper, but with the added bonus of the colors that I've chosen in my color palette of watercolors. And gesso's great because it just goes with everything. You can use it with pretty much any media at all. It's everybody's friend. And you could decide how blended you want this to be. I'm a chronic over blender, and so I'm really needing to work on just leaving some of those patches of color alone so that they can stand out more. I tend to just blend until it looks like a nice blue sky, but that's okay. We'll add more to it later. You don't have to have a heat gun. You could just leave this to dry for a few minutes, probably 10 or 15 since it's gesso. But the heat gun is really, really nice, and a hair dryer can work just as well. Just remember to keep it moving so you don't have any accidents. Okay, so we've got 4 techniques here for making backgrounds. We've got the paper on paper, we have gesso, we have watercolor, and then we have a mixture of gesso and watercolor. And I can keep going with some of these techniques or try something else, but as it is, I've got 4 good page spreads here ready to go for my next marathon of journaling.